when people ask me about land clearing, I decided to make a video to answer some questions. Let's call this step one. Is you've got whatever kind of hardwoods it might be. In this case, you can see all the hedge apples everywhere. There's probably not a 1 square yard space that doesn't have dozens of hedge apples. And so we've got a lot of these hedge, and there may be elm, hackberry, ash trees, all kinds of stuff like that. But you've got quite a bit of thick trees. That's step one.
The next thing we're going to do, like you see here, is cutting with a tree saw, or we possibly will be using a mulcher to cut up all the small stuff first to get it on the ground. How many trees per acre do you have? How big are they? All this is determining what your job's going to look like. Here you can see we're in some pretty thick, pretty heavy stuff. It's a pretty good sized job. And there's a lot of mature hedge in this, so those type of jobs are just going to simply take longer, particularly based on what it is that you want us to do. Then once we get everything on the ground, our next step, as you'll see here, is we're going to begin to get all the large stuff and start to bring that into piles. And then the last step is we'll be cleaning up all the small branches and raking that into piles.
Okay, we've got some of this kind of in between, but we're going to go ahead and call this step 3, where a lot of this big stuff is all picked up. And you can see here where we're starting to get down to some actual soil. But the bottom line is you've still got a lot of material that's on the ground. And if you're not picking that up, here's what that actually looks like. It actually looks like all of this covering your ground. So there I pushed a little bit together. But if I hadn't pushed this up right here, it'd just be one long windrow all the way down.
And as you can see, we're getting down to some black soil, and that's because there was no grass under all these trees. But now that we've removed all these trees, we'll get some sunlight on this and start to grow grass. Once we get all this cleaned up, we get to the final part that nobody really wants to talk about. After all that work and all that grappling is done, that's right, piles.
And yes, you guessed it, lots of piles. The biggest problem I see with people putting piles together is they're, some people would say doing it wrong, whatever. Here's how I do it. I want to put all my small stuff, like you can see here, in the bottom of this pile. I also take some of the mulch that we have on a lot of times in a lot of jobs, and I'll put that interspersed or in starting areas where it'll start better. And if we have enough of the small stuff on the bottom and it's stacked high enough, that's one of the differences for me, is I want them stacked really high. Then it's going to burn a lot better. You're going to have a complete burn instead of just a whole bunch of posts in there that, big pieces that won't burn. So it's a big part of land clearing is you've got to be willing to burn, and you've got to plan that just like any other part of planning a professional operation. And there's assistance for that. I can give you several different resources, but a lot of times people are concerned about burning, and essentially you shouldn't be. If you do it right, it can be done very well.
Now we just need to keep it clear every 3 years with a controlled burn.